Here's a video that's going to make a big difference in your education about roofing and drilling holes or installing some type of screws to where you break the penetration, you penetrate the roofing membrane on a roof with composition shingles. So let's go ahead and get started. There's our hole right there. Now I just kind of want to go over some basic information about shingles. Composition shingles are usually offset. These are 3-tab composition shingles. 1, 2, 3 tabs. Sometimes a lot of the newer ones are solid. They go all the way through. That's a big help for these shingles, but they still need to be installed offset like we're looking at here. And of course, water can get into these areas. Wind can blow water underneath the shingles. Wind can stop water or slow it down from rolling off the roof and have it accumulate in certain areas and then force it back up. When it comes to freezing temperatures, water can actually freeze and get pushed up underneath the shingles also. So in reality, what we're looking at is one barrier. This would be your building paper. This would be the roofing paper here. You would install your roofing paper the first row first, and then the second row would lap over the first one so that the water that rolls off of this one will roll on top to this one and then safely off the roof. That's not going to happen if you penetrate the roofing membrane, the paper and the shingles with a hole all the time. So the biggest problem is going to be water getting behind the shingles. So we put our roofing paper down, and then we have a starter course of shingles, and then we have our first row of shingles that are going to be exposed. And you can just see they kind of gradually work their way up, and then you would just have another shingle that would attach here. The next one would go over that one and all the way up. So just kind of wanted to throw out a basic idea about how a roof is built to help you out here. Now, water can also accumulate in these areas. Once it gets behind the shingles or under the shingles, I've seen it before where there's just a layer of dirt. You go to pull this shingle off here, and this whole area is filled with dirt, and you're trying to think, how in the heck could any dirt have got in there? Well, if dirt can get in there, I'm pretty sure water can also. So the dirt might actually help the water roll over it. I don't know once it turns into mud, but wanted to point that out. Shingle goes on top of the shingle below it and can create an area here where water can travel horizontally along with the roof. So it can actually travel from right to left. So I hope this is starting to make sense. So here's our hole, and I put a nice 1-inch hole through there. It's probably not what you're going to be putting in there. Now, here's my point, and this is what happens a lot. People go in to put satellite dishes on, and that's actually what inspired me to make this video. Someone had a question about how can they install a satellite dish, and I might not be answering their question here, but I think they're going to have a different perspective on this after they watch the video. So this is the most common thing. Someone will come in and put a big thing of tar over the shingle. They'll put silicone. They'll even squeeze the silicone into the hole. I've done it myself before. By putting this silicone into the hole, pre-drilling a hole, and then filling it with silicone, and then installing the lag screw in there is going to be a lot better than not doing anything. But it's not going to guarantee you're not going to have any leaks. So with this said, you can actually seal the top of the shingle. So the top of the shingle is sealed, right? You could even seal the bottom of the plywood if you want, but that's not going to be the best idea. Don't do that. You know, you could actually seal this and prevent the water from leaking out of this hole, but not preventing it from damaging the wood. But again, water leaks have to be fixed. So let's go ahead and take this shingle off here. Now, we would have sealed the top shingle, but we would not have sealed the below it. So any water that rolls onto this shingle can leak into this hole. So this is the first area where the water can leak. So I hope that makes sense. We've sealed the top of the shingle, but we have not sealed the bottom of it. Now, you can always drill your hole, get a pry bar, and get underneath this thing and put some caulking, silicone, whatever. That's going to help. But you're still going to have to deal with the next problem, getting underneath this shingle. How are you going to get underneath this one? That's not going to be that easy. And by removing some of these shingles, you could actually be creating more water leaks also when you start tearing them apart. Keep that in mind. So this is probably going to be the biggest problem. Any water that comes off of here is going to go into any little gap that it possibly can. I hope that makes sense. And to make matters worse, any little tears or rips that you're going to have in the roofing paper. Now, I know a lot of people say, hey, I'm going to use a lag screw. I'm going to pre-drill a hole and then install the lag and everything's going to be tight. But lag screws and regular screws can actually rip the paper. They can deform the paper, pull it up, and actually create larger holes. So keep that in mind when you're thinking that you have the ultimate answer to this. So any water that gets underneath the shingles is going to roll down, and the larger the roof, if you could just imagine water starting from up here, rolling down here, and accumulating. The wind's blowing the water underneath all of the shingles, and underneath it, pretty soon you got a nice flow of steady water, nice steady supply going into that hole, then you aren't going to be a happy homeowner. So I hope that makes sense. Hope it helps. And if it does, you know what to do. Hit the old thumbs up button and pass these videos along to anyone you think would be interested in them. And obviously this might not be someone who's already damaged the roof. Maybe someone who's thinking about damaging it. How's that?